Chapter number 6. Towns, Traders and Craftsmen. During the medieval period from the 12th to the 18th century, India was prosperous and well-governed. The Cholas, the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals had a well-governed empire that brought in stability and progress. All these factors encouraged the growth of towns. Trade and commerce flourished and villages grew into towns. New towns were also developed by Delhi Sultans and Mughals. The important sources of this period are the records of foreign travelers such as Niccolo Conti, Marco Polo, Duarte Barbosa and Ralph Fitch, who have left valuable information about this period. Certain documents, such as the Mughal land documents, also throw light on the growth and development of towns. How the towns developed. Sometimes towns developed out of a large village which had a wholesale market, that is mandi, or where occasional or weekly markets like haats or fairs, that is melas, were held. This became a common place for merchants, both buyers and sellers, who gathered here to trade. Some towns became trade centers, especially during the reign of Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Types of towns. Towns were classified into various types according to the nature of their functions. There were temple towns, craft towns, commercial towns, capital towns, and pilgrimage towns. But sometimes a single town combined many functions and served as a temple town as well as trading center of cotton and jewelry. One such town was Tanjavur, the capital city of Cholas. Let us read about the types of towns during the medieval period. Capital towns. Capital towns were magnificent and became important as the kings lived and held their royal courts here. As a result, they became policy-making and implementing hubs and administrative centers. Foreign travelers and ambassadors visited the royal courts, and this added to the importance of the capital towns. Capital towns were many a times shifted. Agra was Akbar's capital, and then Fatehpur Sikri, which became the new capital city, gained importance. It was the capital town and also a religious town because of the Dargah of Sheikh Salim Chishti. Another example of a capital town is Shah Jahanabad, built by Shah Jahan. Temples and pilgrimage towns. Religion played an important role in those days. Temples and pilgrimage towns gained importance because of the devotees who thronged the towns to worship their deities. Such towns created opportunities for sculptors, painters, musicians, flower shops, and people of other professions. Tanjore was a temple city and the famous capital of Cholas. Madurai, Tirupati, and Mathura were some other temple towns in those days. Banaras, Allahabad, and Vrindavan were famous pilgrimage towns. Similarly, Dargah of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti at Ajmer made the town a hub of devotees and pilgrims. Trading and business towns. From the point of view of business and trade, towns developed if they were producers of raw products or because of the presence of ports and harbors or major trade routes to foreign lands. At times, towns developed because of the craftsmanship of master craftsmen, who trained people and taught them various skills like weaving and embroidery. Ahmedabad was famous for cotton and silk, whereas Hampi, Surat and Masulipatanam were important trade centers. There were two types of commercial towns, inland trading towns and port towns. Wonderful to know, Marco Polo, 1254 to 1324 AD, is probably the most famous Western traveler who traveled on the Silk Route. His journey through Asia lasted for 24 years. He became a confidant of Kublai Khan, the ruler of China, 1214 to 1294 AD, and traveled through the whole of China. He wrote a travelogue of his journey. Craft towns. Many towns developed due to their specialized crafts. Kings and nobles who needed luxury goods encouraged the growth of craft towns. The capital city of the kingdom of Golconda, Hyderabad, was famous for gem cutting and jewels. Bidar was famous for its Bidri work. Important business communities. Traders and craftsmen were important business communities. There were mainly two kinds of traders, big traders and small traders. The big traders were rich and owned ships and boats, and even traded abroad. The small traders operated locally in unity products like spices, cloth, or even crafts. Craftsmen were patronized by the Mughals, who even encouraged the master craftsmen to conduct workshop, that is karkhanas, to train people. Traders formed guilds to protect their interests. These guilds laid down rules for its members to streamline policies and regulations for the benefit of all. Traders usually traveled together in large caravans. The Banjaras were a trading group that traded in foodstuffs. They generally moved from place to place. Spices and textiles were the most important items of trade. These were exported to traders on the ports of the Red Sea, Persian Gulf, Southeast Asia and China. Important towns. Hampi. The famous city of Hampi was the capital of the kingdom of Vijayanagar Empire. A spectacular city with magnificent forts and beautiful temples. Hampi was also strategically located. It was protected by river Tungabhadra in the north and rocky granite ridges on the other three sides. The ruins of Hampi tell us its story of lost splendor and fabulous wealth. The city was planned in such a way that it was protected by forts, outlying fields, and a 20-kilometer long water channel that acted like a defense against any attack. The Hampi architecture was distinctive. Hampi enjoyed its prime position during the 15th-16th century. It was a hub of cultural and commercial activities. Hampi was an important cotton and spice trade center. Traders from Persia, Arabia, Burma, that is Myanmar, China, and numerous islands in the Indian Ocean visited Hampi to trade. European merchants also bought cotton and spices from Hampi. Temples were the hub of cultural activities. Archaeologists found the Mahanavmi platform where the king received guests and accepted tribute. In 1565, Hampi was defeated by the Delhi Sultans. It was from this time onwards that Hampi fell into ruins. The magnificent city Hampi. A Portuguese traveller, Domingo Paes, described Hampi in the 16th century. At the entrance of the gate, where those pass who come from the Goa. This king has made within it a very strong city fortified with walls and towers. These walls are not like those of other cities, but are made of very strong masonry, such as would be found in a few other parts, and inside very beautiful rows of building made after their manner with flat roofs. Surat. Surat is situated on the banks of river Tapti. During the medieval times, Surat was an important port as well as trading town. As a result of its strategic position, it became the gateway for trade with West Asia via the Gulf of Hormuz. Surat became a very important Mughal trading port. It also became a major overland route from Agra and Delhi. Surat was famous for its textile industry and therefore became a major center for export of textiles along with indigo and other products. The British established a trading factory in Surat in 1612. The Dutch opened the trading factory followed by the French in 1664. Trade and commerce flourished and in 1689, on an average, 100 ships from different countries were found to be anchored at the port at any time. As trade and commerce flourished, rules were streamlined and offices set up at Surat. The custom house, where traders paid their taxes, and the mint, where traders from foreign countries exchanged currency, were some of the offices set up to trade with the Mughal Empire. However, Surat experienced a decline towards the end of the 17th century. Many factors were responsible for it. Maratha leader Shivaji destroyed it in 1664. Also, as the Mughal Empire declined, Markets and productivity were lost. The Portuguese began to control the sea route and there was competition from Bombay, that is from Mumbai, where the East India Company shifted its headquarters in 1668. Today, Surat is a major commercial center. Masulipatanam. Masulipatanam or Machlipatanam was the name of a port town. The name means a fish port town. It is situated in the Bay of Bengal on the river Krishna. Masulipatanam was initially founded by the trading Arabs who found their way from the Red Sea to southern India in the 14th century. It was towards the end of the 16th century that a new sea link was established between Masulipatanam and the west. Masulipatanam was and still is famous for its kalamkari work. Kalam means a pen or kari means work. Saris and cloth material were painted with the help of natural dyes with a kalam or a pen made of bamboo. Kalamkari textiles were exported to the Safavid Empire in Persia. Masulipatanam developed as a manufacturing center and in the 17th century it was a city of weavers and dyers. It was in the beginning of the 19th century that their trade began to decline speedily. This city was important because it was the port of Golconda. Golconda mines produced the largest diamonds in the world. Masulipatanam was prosperous due to this trade of diamonds and rubies. Masulipatanam lost its importance when Bombay, Calcutta and Madras became trading ports of the Europeans. A fish port town. Masulipatanam, as described by William Mathwold, a factor of the English East India Company in 1620. This is the chief port of Golconda, where the right worshipful East India Company have their agent. It is a small town but populous, unwalled, ill-built and worse situated. Within all the springs are brackish. It was first a fish port town, a place where ships can anchor. Afterwards, the convenience of the road made it a residence for merchants and so continues since our and the Dutch nation frequented this coast. New towns and traders. Spices and textiles of India attracted the Europeans during the 16th and 17th centuries. The English, the Dutch and the French governments wanted to expand their commercial activities in the East with the help of their superior naval power. Due to the increase in the demand of textiles, there was a sudden increase in people who took up crafts such as spinning, weaving, bleaching and dyeing. On the other hand, this period also witnessed the decline of the independence of craftsmen as they had to weave cloth as per the demands of the European agents. This period also saw the rise of three important cities, Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. The Europeans set up areas called black towns in these cities. The craftsmen and artisans were moved into these areas to work and live there. The Europeans, on the other hand, occupied the posh residential areas of Fort St. William in Calcutta and Fort St. George in Madras. In other parts of the world during that time, Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese sailor, was one of those who sailed across the Atlantic to the African coast, went round it, crossing over to the Indian Ocean. His first journey took more than a year. He reached Calicut in 1498 and returned to Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, the following year. After his success, the routes proved to be profitable and he was followed by the English, Dutch and French sailors. The search for sea routes to India led to another discovery. Christopher Columbus, an Italian sailor, decided to sail westwards across the Atlantic Ocean to find a route to India. He landed in West Indies in 1492. Sailors from Spain and Portugal were close behind him. They were a step ahead and occupied large parts of Central and South America, often destroying earlier settlements in the area.